Today's video is about application control, how to block different applications like peer-to-peer or things like this with application control using the SonicWall firewall. So let's go back many years ago, like 20 years ago. I mean, time flies. I'm getting close to 40 years old. So when I was like 18, 19 years old, blocking an application with a firewall was super easy. Back then, applications were like ICQ, and ICQ, if you wanted to block it, the port was 5190. Then MSN arrived, and if you wanted to block MSN on the firewall, all you had to do is Google which, well, not Google, I guess Yahoo, which port MSN is using, and you find out that MSN was using 1863. Then you go in the firewall, create a policy, block 1863, and everybody was happy. People were thinking that you were such a genius. Everything worked on the internet, everything, but not MSN. They were like, wow, man, that guy is a genius. So life was easy back then. But one day, someone had the most hideous idea to be like, hey, hold on. People are blocking our application by blocking the port, so let's just either use any port, or let's use a port they cannot block, like port 80. So that was like, oh, okay, hold on. How am I going to do that? And then next generation firewall came out. Well, that was about 15 years ago. That's funny, next generation firewall. That's to me like a marketing dead end. Like, what are you gonna do after the next generation firewall? There is nothing after the next. You cannot do the next gen thing, right? Anyway, back on topic. The next gen came out, which are next gen, which are layer 7 firewall, right? They can inspect application and bits and bytes in the data payload of a packet, not just the header anymore, which is IP and ports, right? So it could look at the data itself and find out that it is MSN. So what happened? The management come and see you and say, hey, JP, MSN works now. It used to be blocked for years. Can you find out why? And me, be like, yeah, sure, boss. I'll look into it. Then you go play World of Warcraft for 4 hours and you just look like, So management came by, it's like, oh yeah, he's on it. And then you go into your UTM firewall, like the SonicWall, and you go into the application control and you find out MSN, block on, and done. It was even easier than it used to be. You don't need to Alta Vista which port MSN use. You just go in the firewall and you block the port. Less step to do. No need to find the port and block the port. You just block the app that you've been asked to. It was awesome. But then everything went just straight down. Like Mr. Snowden showed up, and now absolutely everything is encrypted. You go to the weather network, it's encrypted because you really need to know fully encrypted with security end-to-end with data privacy that it's sunny outside. Crucial to be transferred encrypted. And that was an issue to identify application. And then someone came in with, hold on, installing an application sometimes is a challenge. People in corporate environment don't have the admin right to install stuff. So let's do our application web-based. So that was like a decade ago. So if you had Netscape installed, the world was yours. You don't need admin right anymore to use any app. They're all the same app, but web-based. That was genius. So it was just going downfall. And then my friend Mark showed up and came up with something called social media. And what happened then is people like marketing and HR, they go see management and say that they need Zuckerberg stuff for their work. And then management come and see us and say, block social media for everyone except HR and marketing. So it's like, oh, so I miss how things were back in the day. So that's what we'll be doing today. We'll do application control. We'll tie it with DPI-SSL for it in order to work properly. Then we'll also do some Active Directory and use single sign-on to tie it with application control. Hi, I'm Jean-Pierre Talbot, SE for SonicWall, and welcome to my personal channel. So first thing I'd like to explain a bit more and make clear, sometimes there are confusion between application control and content filtering service, like blocking URL categories of website, right? Sometimes people believe they're the same and it can be confusing. And it's right, it can be confusing because there are things where app control and content filtering, they both work together doing two different things totally. Torrent is an example, right? Content filtering will prevent you to go on the torrent bay or to download the torrent app to be able to give it the small tiny file you've downloaded on the torrent bay. So that is what content filtering will do, prevent you to go on a website to download the tiny torrent file and prevent you to go on a torrent website to download a torrent client. So content filtering blocks website. And when we talk torrent, then application control does something totally different. Application control, for if you ask it to block torrent, it will block torrent traffic. So when you have the torrent application installed and you start trying to transfer file using many IPs of all the other people that you transfer with, using any different random ports, that is where application control will kick in. So in the example of torrent, content filtering and application control do two different things, right? So again, application control for content filtering will block access to websites where you download the tiny file and the torrent client. But application control, when you ask it to block torrent, it will block the torrent traffic itself when you download files. And there are some that, you're right, they kind of both do the same, but they are slightly different in my opinion. If you do content filtering to block, let's say YouTube, content filtering will say, well, no, sorry, youtube.com not allowed, period. Well, if you use it with application control, I'll show it today. You do have application behavior that you can control. What I'll do today is I'll prevent upload of video on YouTube. That's not something content filtering can do, but application control have signature for behavior of different application, which can be very useful depending on what you want to do. So my personal preference, if it's something that is a web-based app and I want to block it, I'll use content filtering, right? It's that easy. You check it, you're done. No need to poke around with signatures and DPI-SSL and nothing like that. You just say block YouTube, period, done, easy. But if what you need to block is also an app that has a different thing like torrent or Dropbox. Dropbox is a website, but also an application, right? So that's another example where you need both. So personally, I prefer to work with content filtering when I need to block the entire thing. But sometimes you want to block, you cannot block it because it's not a web page. So content filtering will not do much. That's where you need application control. And sometimes you want to block behavior of an application or a website. Then again, that's application control. Another thing, DPI-SSL, like I mentioned, everything is encrypted now. So DPI-SSL is a feature that is free on the firewall that allows you to decrypt all encrypted traffic and inspect that traffic just like if it was unencrypted traffic. Then the firewall will re-encrypt that traffic and let it go. So if you think about it, HTTPS or encryption in general is designed to ensure data integrity, and also ensure that no one can actually see the traffic while it's in transit, right? It ensures data encryption between end-to-end, between the workstation and the server somewhere in the cloud, right? So anyone in transit, anyone between the client and the server, which include the firewall, will not be able to see that traffic, right? It's designed for integrity, confidentiality, and everything, so no one can see it. So if you don't decrypt the traffic using the firewall cannot see that traffic and most likely not able to take action and identify that you're trying to upload a video on YouTube or you're trying to upload a file on Dropbox or you're trying to do torrent, right? Everything encrypted will most likely not be able to be blocked by application control because you don't have DPI-SSL turned on. Even though SonicWall did some little magic here to help out to be able to block application even though you don't have DPI-SSL on. And the magic trick SonicWall did was to leverage DNS requests, because the first thing an application will do is a DNS request to find out which IP the server has, and then it will start a communication and encryption with that server. So if we block it at the DNS level and SonicWall is able to work some magic to flag application using DNS, then it works. So Dropbox is an example. If you're trying to block everything Dropbox without DPI-SSL, I've tested it, it works, and it flags it as a DNS request that it found. So it's great. But if you try to Block behavior of Dropbox, like uploading a file, not gonna work if you don't have DPI-SSL. The same goes for YouTube. So really important, you must have DPI-SSL turned on. I will do the demo, I will just turn it on blindly. Never ever do this. Go check the video I've done on DPI-SSL. It will be in the description box down below. Guaranteed, if you blindly turn on DPI-SSL, you will turn it off very quickly, and you'll have to go explain your boss what happened, why everything stopped working, and why you brought the business down, right? You'll have some fair explanation to do. So do not blindly turn on DPI-SSL. Go watch that video on DPI-SSL where I explain how to turn it on progressively and test and make sure everything works smoothly, and gradually make your way to enabling it to everyone. Next video that is optional, I would say. Remember, minutes ago I was saying HR and marketing, they want to have access to Facebook. Well, if you have two choices to do this, roughly. First one is to put fixed IP addresses on HR and marketing workstation, so then you can do access rule based on IP address, which is not really fun. Or you can do Active Directory and single sign-on. So when someone in HR, like John in HR, trying to go on Facebook, the firewall will see an IP address trying to go on Facebook. It will see, do I know who's the user and which group he's member of for that IP? I don't. I'll check with single sign-on, Active Directory, and I'll get a reply from the agent saying, yep, it is, this IP address is John, member of HR. So then the firewall will apply policy accordingly. So the IP address of John can change 20 times during the day. It will still work. John can have a new laptop or use another office and it will work, because as long as you log into the workstation as John, we will know. So I've done two video, one on Active Directory integration and another one on single sign-on. So here I'm simply using them. I'll very briefly show them that they work and show you which member a user is, but I'm not going to set it up. So if you want to see how to set this up, again, in the description box down below, you do have both videos for that. So let's do this. Okay, so like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, here for application control to work, we do need DPI-SSL most of the time, if not all the time, because like I mentioned, pretty much everything is encrypted now. So if you don't turn on DPI-SSL and you're trying to get app control to work, it might be hit or miss, most likely miss, simply because, again, pretty much everything is encrypted, designed to provide data security and confidentiality and integrity from client to server. And we have the firewall in the middle, right? So the firewall in the middle, encryption is designed to ensure that anything in the middle cannot see anything in the data going through. So if we try to get to have application control to identify an application and block it, well, it's not going to work because we cannot see the traffic, right? That's the purpose of encryption. So we do need, again, DPI-SSL. So go first, have a look at that video if you haven't enabled DPI-SSL yet. So I'll show you here. If you go into policy, DPI-SSL and client, we do see it is enabled. I'm using the built-in cert and I turn it on for a specific object that I have, which I will show you, which is X0 and VLAN 1009. So let's go see my network. See here, I will do the demo today with a virtual machine because I also want to show you with Active Directory integration and single sign-on to apply application based on group membership. So that virtual machine is in my lab and the lab is the LAN. And I will also use that very laptop, which is on my SonicWall zone on VLAN 1009. So that's why we see here that into object for DPI-SSL, I did a address object called X0 and VLAN 1009. And if we go see my object, the object group custom, see here, I do have those two interfaces. Again, I'm going quick because that's stuff I covered in the DPI-SSL. So if you're trying to just turn on DPI-SSL like I did here, I guarantee you one thing. See here, I've turned it on for 2 networks. So if you do this into your organization, one thing guaranteed, you'll turn it off very quickly, and you'll have to go ask and explain your boss why you brought everything down, right? So have a look at my DPI-SSL video. It's not something you can turn on and enjoy your Friday afternoon and go out and enjoy your weekend, because it's not gonna work. So that's DPI-SSL that is turned on. And the next thing is to show you Active Directory integration. Again, I do have a video for Active Directory integration and another video to turn on single sign-on, where single sign-on will find out automatically this machine is this user that is logged into it, and this user is member of those groups, those Active Directory groups, and then in those Active Directory groups, I will apply those policies. So let me show you this. So you go into device, and here we don't have any, because, well, I haven't started yet, but I do have single sign-on turned on. Actually, let's just get it to trigger. So log into VMware. So here I do have two servers, Active Directory and a workstation. So we'll play with that workstation today. Let's just log in. And browse the web a bit to trigger single sign-on, and let's go see if I got users. See now, the user JP is here, logged in 0 minutes ago through single sign-on. And we can see here he's member of network user and the tech group. So that user is member of those two groups triggered by Active Directory. So that is something I really recommend to turn on. I also did, like I mentioned, 2 videos on Active Directory integration and one on single sign-on. So strongly advise you go watch them, because here I will use it and assume you know how it works. So if you haven't done it, and if you plan on using single sign-on, because here it's not mandatory, right? DPI-SSL to me is mandatory for application control to work, and it's not something, it's not a, let's say, a SonicWall issue, right? That's how life works. Everything is encrypted nowadays, so whatever the firewall you have, chances are application control will not work much, because you don't decrypt encrypted traffic. So not really have a choice, and it's not something that is because of SonicWall. Again, it's life is like this, is everything is encrypted to provide integrity and ensure that no one can look at the data in transit. Well, the firewall is somewhere in the path of the in-transit document when it's encrypted, so we need to be able to decrypt stuff to see what's in there, and then application control to trigger. So here I did show you the 2 networks, X0 and X6 VLAN 1009, which are the one that I want to do application control on. So the first thing we need to do is to go into zone, and that's my LAN zone, and it's my SonicWall zone, as we can see, X6 VLAN 1009, and we need to turn on application control, right? See here it is not enabled, so we'll edit that zone, my LAN zone, and I will turn on app control, hit save, and do the exact same thing for all the other zones that I want to have application control on. So here, my SonicWall zone, I want this on as well. Next, we go into policies, security services, and app control. We turn on app control, enable login. It's always nice because we want logs of have it been triggered, was it allowed, was it denied, and of course every application that are allowed will be logged. And if you have anything to generate log, it could be any third party that do syslog, or it could be the SonicWall analytic that is either on-prem or cloud, will be able to generate you reports saying how many people have been on Netflix and how many people are using XYZ application, which can be very handy. Then we hit on accept. And of course here, need to ensure that application control have been downloaded. So when you turn it on the first time, it may take a couple seconds, maybe a minute or so to download all this signature if it's not already there, right? See here a little reminder, right? Go into object and zone to turn it on, which is exactly what we did. See here, if I go back, it brings me here where I turn on app control on the different zones here, right? So you have a small reminder here telling you, hey, don't forget to do it. And next is to go into the signature tab. This is where all the fun begins, right? So here we do have a search, allowing you to search for anything you want. Here, risk, there are applications that are known to be more risky than others, so you can decide to filter based on this. Here, categories. See, we do see all the different application categories that there is in the SonicWall. And application, all the applications. In here, you can decide to view based on category, application, or signature. So I'll cover that first. So categories, see, we see every single categories that exists, right? There is peer-to-peer. I'm sure you know plenty of peer-to-peer application, the very old one that we use many years ago, the torrent one and all those. Same for gaming, business application. I would assume Teams is in there, Office 365, the G Suite stuff. The Ring Central would be in there, Zoom, GoToMeeting, all those all those applications I would assume would be into business application, right? So those are categories of application. Then we do have application. So those are application by itself, right? Dropbox is an application, YouTube is one, and so forth. Here you can decide to see on application, but here I could change category. Instead of being all, I could say show me all. Well, we'll go into business app. So it's going to show me all the application because I've set view by application, and I've select the category business app. So it's going to show me all application in business apps, and we see them all in there, right? There are plenty, and I would assume maybe Teams is in there. See, Teams is in there. I mentioned Ring Central. No Ring Central. Maybe it's under Zoom. No. So it might be somewhere else. So then what you can do is pick all category and then type in again Zoom. It is into web conferencing, which of course make total sense, right? So that's how those menu works. If I add Ring Central a minute ago, so Ring Central is here under VoIP application. So that's a way, again, how to search for things. So if you want to see all the peer-to-peer things that exist, of course, there are none that are called Ring. If I erase this, we see old stuff like Emule. I saw one like LimeWire, bring back some memories. I believe Kaza was in there at one point. I've seen it. But of course, you get all the latest stuff as well as the old stuff, right? I don't see a reason why any manufacturer would remove old application. So that is how to view by application. Next, what you can do as well is search and go by signature. So see here, I will change. One demo I will do on signature would be with YouTube. So here I will put all category, all application, search for YouTube, and here see it shows me all the application, but I don't want to see the application. I want to see signature, and see we do have plenty of application behavior. See here, for instance, the demo I'll do today is block video upload, right? Maybe you don't work for a company like SonicWall that embrace employees that have the willingness to do something different, and like I've been doing since the beginning of the pandemic, to put video on YouTube to help people out. So maybe a company would be like, you know what? Yes, you can go on YouTube, but I don't want you to upload videos, right? So that's something maybe you would like to do. I don't know. So here, that's the demo we'll do. We will block a application signature, which is uploading videos on YouTube. So you can go on YouTube, you can put comments, you can like, you can share, you can do plenty of stuff on YouTube, but you will not be able to upload a video on YouTube. So that's what we will test. So hopefully it's clear. Categories are like peer-to-peer, everything that is peer-to-peer. Application would be like torrent, right? Which is one application, and signature could be file transfer over torrent. So now it's time to show you how it works and to give it a try, right? So I will change to view on application, and the first thing we'll do is to drop Dropbox, right? So I'll search for Dropbox. It's here. If you click the small pen here, you do have different options. So block, I will say yes, block this thing. Log, it is already logging everything, right? Minutes ago, I showed you to turn on the logging, so it will log. Here I do have the option to include users or exclude users or groups. Here the same for IP, include IP, exclude IP. And here I could have a schedule, right? You may want to say, you know what, during lunchtime, yes, you can Facebook, YouTube, and do all those stuff, right? Could be, or outside business hours. So here what I will do, I will enable blockage, and I will only block Dropbox application for a group in Active Directory. See here, include user. In here, I will pick my tech group, because remember I showed you, which I'll show you again in a second, but I got a user on the VM, on the virtual machine, that is the user JP on my domain here, and he's member of the tech group. So here, blockage will only be enabled for Dropbox for users member of the tech group in Active Directory. So I'm going to click OK on this. And I'll show you again. So if I go into device, user, see I have my JP user through SSL. And if I click here, see it is member of my domain in the tech group. So I'll show you that Dropbox works on my SonicWall machine, because my SonicWall machine is not member of this domain. It is member of the SonicWall domain. So let's open the Dropbox app. And see, it is working, right? I got my Dropbox. I can take a video, put it, download it here, and it's downloading my video. And I can take something I've downloaded somewhere, the SMA agent, and put it here. And see, the agent is there. So say I've been able to transfer file through Dropbox because my SonicWall laptop is not a user member of the tech group on my Active Directory server in my lab. My laptop, this laptop is member of the SonicWall domain. So I'm not, it does not qualify, right? I'll show you again here. If I go to my policy, signature, and I search for Dropbox, view by application, we see it is blocked, but only for users member of the tech group in my Active Directory at home. Now let's go see logs. See, we see usage for Dropbox coming from my SonicWall laptop, 10.9.254.87. I'll show you. See, that's my SonicWall laptop. And if I expand this, click on all, we see that I've been using some Dropbox and it has been allowed. Actually, when it's blocked here, it will say firewall action was to block it. But near here, it doesn't say block. Okay, now let's try on this machine who's member of my domain, right? So this is the JP user, which, yeah, we see here. And JP is a user member of the tech group on my lab Active Directory domain, which again, I'll show you briefly here. If I go into device, setting, not settings, status, I was at the right place. So that's my user, JP, IP 10.6.254.220, catch by single sign-on, and it is member of Mur du Son /tech, so it is member of this domain of the tech group. And again, in application control, I ask to block Dropbox for users member of the tech group. So let's just see here. I need to find a way for VMware to speed up. And see, that's the IP 10.6.254.220. So let's start Dropbox. And it seems to have a hard time. While it's trying to start, not sure if it's VMware that is slow or not. Let's go see our logs. Let's search for Dropbox. As you can see here, we have it, 10.6.254.220, trying to use Dropbox here, and it was dropped. And see here, it is trying, right? Dropbox starting working on it. Eventually, I would assume it will time out. So that is how to block application for different, in that case, Active Directory groups. So again, if I go back in here, app control, here, got it. Under signature, here I have Dropbox. I don't want signature, I want application. Change it here, say it was blocked only for this group. That's why my Dropbox here is actually working and it doesn't say starting, right? It just says, I'm happy, everything is good. Because this is my SonicWall laptop member of the SonicWall domain, not the Mur du Son domain, right? So that very laptop does not qualify as this. So that's why it works for me. So if you want, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, if you need to block application for everyone except some Active Directory groups like social media that needs to be blocked for everyone except HR, then you would block it here. Here you would say, you would just keep it by default. Include would be leave it by default, and here you would exclude HR, but here I don't have HR, you could do like sales or something else, right? So here, if you want to block an application for everyone except one Active Directory group, you would put that group in the exclude here, right? So you would say block Facebook or block any other things you want for everyone except that group. Other demo I want to do now is going to be on YouTube. So I will search for YouTube. Here I'm not going to go by application because I would like to block a behavior of YouTube. So I'm going to go on signature. See, there are plenty of signature for YouTube. And the last one here is video upload. So that's the one I will try. So I will simply turn on blockage here. And again, the message here, as you will see eventually, is very clear that you do need DPI-SSL to be on for this to work. See, if I click on it, it will tell me, or was somewhere else. I remember seeing it, maybe on the application itself. No. Anyway, I remember seeing it, but maybe it was somewhere else. So you do have here, see, require DPI-SSL. So yeah, pretty much you do need DPI-SSL for this to work, especially that YouTube is a web application and it's on HTTPS. So not really have a choice for this to work. So here, again, video upload, I've blocked it. I haven't selected a specific group, so it's going to be anyone here, just to show how to do this. So here, let me go on YouTube. I'll show you I can watch car track, because I like watching car stuff. And as you can see, the ad works. You can see that YouTube only suggests car content to me. And I can watch a YouTube video, right? And I could comment if I want here. I will try now to upload a video because that's what I've selected here to block, right? So I'm going to go and manage videos, create, upload video, select the file, and I'll pick that file. See, it's saying that it's currently uploading and I'm uploading at 0%, still 0, still 0. Let's go check logs. Monitor, here, search for YouTube, and we'll just pick the first one. Yep, first one is my IP 10.9.254.87, which I'll show you. If I type at the right place, 10.9.254.87, and look at this here. App control, prevent, YouTube, video upload, firewall, dropped it. If we go back here, I am still at 0%. So we're gonna stay here for the next hour. making sure it stays at 0. Just kidding. So see, it is actually dropping it. I can let it run for a bit more time if you want, just to confirm it really fails at uploading. Last thing that will be in another video, I just want to show you that it exists. One thing I've seen that I've been asked in the past was for a university. SonicWall has many customer in education, from elementary school to university, college, and all those. And the customer I had was a university. And you know, sometimes, I'm sure you've seen this, what IT needs to do, the fact and what must be done, and politics sometimes don't work, right? And in that specific scenario, the university politics was, well, everybody here is an adult, right? So we don't block anything. Anything they want to do, they can do it. And of course, it was easy at some point to make 2 different network, right? One network for a student, and they were, you know, security people in IT studying, doing research in IT. So it is okay for them to download viruses, right? It's part of studies that they have to do. So there is one network for student where it's some bring your own device, and there is no security whatsoever because they're adult. They can do research on any topic they want, from adult website going all the way from to viruses and hacking and all those things. So that was quite easy for that part. They just went into network, created different network, and each network were into different zone, and one zone had nothing in terms of services. Where the issue is torrent. So of course it's like, well, they're adult, so the politic was saying you don't block anything. But the IT fact is, well, the faster you have an internet line at the university, the more people will come at university to download torrent. But then the internet is getting saturated with people doing torrent, so then you upgrade from 500 meg to 1 gig to 2 gig to 5 gig to 10 gig internet line. And the more you upgrade, the more people come to university to download torrent because you got a 1 trillion terabyte internet link, right? So that was an issue where, you know, IT and politics were kind of fighting. So the solution that IT came with that would please politics without telling them was to limit bandwidth on torrent. And for those that have heirs of my color, I'm sure you remember the good old 28.8 buds modem that we used to have many years, decades ago. So what he wanted was, let's put everybody on a 28.8 buds and throughput for torrent, right? Politics will be happy. It's like, nope, see, it's not blocked. See, they can download. Why is it slow? Well, I don't know. I don't control torrent, sir. So that's something you may want to do, to put bandwidth limitation on specific application or categories of application. So that's something I will do in another video, but I'll show you very briefly where it is and how it could be done. So, because if we go back here, if we go here and into my application control, I select view by categories and I pick peer-to-peer. See, I don't have bandwidth management here, right? So that's one limit of application control. To be able to actually do it, you go into app rules, and I'll do eventually one video on app rule, but I'll show you very briefly how you can do it. So if I click add on app rule, as you can see, I do have way more option, and I do have option for bandwidth management, which is going to be the match object, no, the action object, where I can apply bandwidth management. So here I would call it, let's say, limit peer-to-peer. It's going to be application control. The match object, I already have one created peer-to-peer, which I'll show you in a sec. And the match object, no, not the exclude, the action, I here do have application bandwidth management. So I will just close this, show you where you create the match object and the action object. So we go into object. Match object. See, I do have one here. That's the one I already had called peer-to-peer. So if I edit this, it's application, right? There is many other stuff you could have select. Those app rule are extremely powerful, but here I want is application category list, and I've select peer-to-peer and click on add, and it added the peer-to-peer application category. Then the action object, app rule action. See, there are some that are already there by default, right? You may want to say, when it's this application used by those person, disable the antivirus because it triggers something, or bypass DPI-SSL, or bypass sandboxing, or bypass different things. It could be possible. One example could be your backup server, right? You don't want IPS to say, oh, I don't like this part of your database, and remove one part of the database. That means that your backup will never ever be restorable because your database is always corrupted, right? So that could be an option. Here, what I'll do, I will do a quick bandwidth management. So here I've clicked on add. Sorry, I've been quick. So I'm into app rule action. Click on add. It's gonna be bandwidth management. So I'll call it BWM for my peer-to-peer. And here, eventually I'll do a video also on bandwidth management, but there are per policy and per action. I never remember which one is which. Per policy, I believe it's everybody will share the bandwidth I'm using, I'm specifying here. And then per action is each action I create will each have the bandwidth I specify here. So again, one day I'll do a video on bandwidth management, and before doing it, I'll have a look at the documentation to remember. So here I just pick one random, and here turn on bandwidth management, create bandwidth management, and I will say guaranteed. I don't want any guaranteed, and I want a maximum bandwidth of 20 kilobit per second. Priority would be very low, and I want drop when it's trying to exceed, and I'll give it a name, peer-to-peer again. Of course, don't put names like this. I'm trying to put something that means something like BWM action peer-to-peer, and save this. And I can use the same here, right? Again, eventually I'll do a video. I'm just showing you briefly how you could do this. So see here, my BWM peer-to-peer is here, and it limits at 20 kilobit per second. So I'll go back into my app rule, click on add, limit peer-to-peer, trying to not do typos, it's usually better. So the match object is peer-to-peer application, and the action I want to apply is my bandwidth management for peer-to-peer. Then I can select, do I want this to apply to certain IP addresses? Do I want this on specific ports as well? I could, it's extremely flexible. You can do many things in there. You can exclude people, exclude ports, exclude different matches. Like you could say, well, block everything for peer-to-peer except that peer-to-peer app, which would not really make sense, but you get the point. Here I could do it for only for groups, right? In my example for the university, what they could do is, you know what, we will exclude us, right? The tech working at the university. So all the students, 20 kilobit per second, 2000 students sharing 20K of throughput for all of them on torrent, except us IT, we want to, have good throughput for torrent. So that's something you could do. So that is a very high level overview. Again, eventually I will do a video on app rule. So then click OK on this, and see we do have my limit peer-to-peer, that is application control for the peer-to-peer match object I've created. The action is to choke the bandwidth and apply it to everyone here, but we don't see in the field here, I believe. If I click settings, not settings, there is a way to add more tabs. So I could, if I want, actually be able to see that in there I do have my Active Directory groups. So very high level overview of how it could be done. Eventually, again, I'll do a video on this. So thanks for watching. I really hope you appreciated that video, and if you did like it, please consider subscribing so that way you don't miss out on other upcoming videos I will post. So thanks for watching again, and have a nice day.